On day release, demon sub tries not to crease, and Ewok's keeping nice and warm in bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile, the handyman is opening another can. Technical difficulties, they're really such a crime. Technical difficulties, they happen all the time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. Sometimes they're salty about the gaming biz, and nobody knows who Upworlder is. Technical difficulties, they're really such a crime. Technical difficulties, they happen all the time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop 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 time.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another live.
Fucking hell, did you get that seamless? Did you get that seamless for a change?
We've got salt already. It's all gone mad.
Technical difficulties, tick it off your bucket list.
There you go. We start as we mean to go on. Bathed
Yeah.
in the
tonight's
salt of
one-
indignance.
Tonight's stream topic may just thaw Canada out early.
Ooh. Yes, so good evening. Welcome to another hobby live stream. We hope everybody had a good week since we saw you last. Where do I even begin?
I'll tell you where we begin.
Yeah, go on.
This week's been full of news.
It has, apparently. Not that I've got any of it queued up, because I'm not prepared like that. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
You're not a competent professional.
I'm not a competent host. He may have something there. He may be onto something. So let's shout everybody in the chat first. That's always the first job of the evening. Hello to Darren, also known as Demon Sub. Check him out on Instagram. Hello to Cheese Me, also known as Limburger on the OTT Discord server, which is where everybody who's into hobby should be in the across the world, because it's an awesome community. Hello to Spam, that's David's other half, for those of you who don't know. Also, hello to Pandy. That's Paul from Pandyman Entertainment, or Pandy Man as they're known now. Just go and check him out online. He's responsible for some fantastic miniature games such as Trench Offensive and Threat Level 0. And no doubt more projects in the future, eh, Paul? Nudge, nudge. So yeah, good evening to all and sundry. We may get a few more drift into the chat as we go, but good evening to everybody who's here. So what we got? What's this? Looks like there's plenty of salt on David's shirt. Either that or he's got terminal dandruff. I don't quite know which.
It's a space theme, boys and girls.
No, it's just salt. That's it. It's just crusted on. So yeah, good evening. So this is a hobby live stream, people. So get in the chat or the comments below if you're watching later on YouTube. What is it that you're going to be working on? David and I will be showing you what we're working on tonight. So Darren says if he can beat the final boss of on Dark Souls, he will have done a 3-hour speedrun. What the hell? Are you playing Dark Souls? Or are you watching us, Darren? That's unlike you. Normally you're cracking on. Or are you putting another Gundam together? As you're a bit addicted to them at the moment. Probably putting another Gundam together, aren't you? Or shopping for one. Jeez me. Yeah, it's a space theme. It's full of stars. Oh, okay, mate. Yeah, it's the sodium chloride way. It's like the Milky Way, but not as pleasant. Right. So, over the next couple of hours, we'll follow our usual format. David and I will show you what we're going to be hobbying on while we sit and chat shit. Then we'll have a quick chat about our club night.
You haven't queued up the...
No, I haven't, but I will. We chat about our club night and the painting event that we hold every month. Evening Upwelder, also known as Trevor. Darren says, new Gundam next week when I'm off. I've been writing a new OT. Ooh. Well, Jerry will have seen it then, if it's not public. So, yeah, we'll chat a bit about club. Then there's loads of news. Apparently.
We've got more news that you can... Well, there is a lot of news this week.
Okay. Calm down.
We've got Game of Thrones to talk about.
Yeah. Always keen to talk about Game of Thrones.
You've got your Goonhammer articles to talk about, your Malifaux.
All right, then. I can mention them. Yeah. So, and then...
What shit you're bringing to the table?
About 9 o'clock-ish, we'll get into our main topic, which was triggered by a sort of news event this week, or certainly something going on. David's sort of leading the charge.
There is a fucking cautionary tale that the roads where we live will not be frozen this evening because the amount of sodium chloride that will be spewed based after the news article will thaw Lincolnshire. Won't it, Ginge? Just saying. You there, mate? Or am I just waffling to myself in the ether? Hello? Yeah, Paul's gone silent. You're absolutely quiet, mate. I don't know if you can hear me. But yeah. Well, boys and girls, Paul's got technical difficulties. There's a wild fucking surprise. How is everyone this week? Yeah, Paul's gone on mute. He's incompetent and he doesn't know how to operate a headset, apparently. So, yeah, how is everyone? How has the first week of February been treating you all? Has people got, what's it called? Stuff sorted? Are people hobbying? Where's stuff going? Spam. It wasn't even fucking 7 minutes. Let's be brutally honest. Every time that we get together on stream, does something break within like 25 seconds. So this week it's Paul's headphones. Yes, happy birthday, Lola. There we go. I can sort of hear him coming back today. You there, mate? Or what's going on? Because I'm not quite sure. Anyway, boys and girls, I am trying a new painting technique this week. I am
Can anybody right? Okay, so for some reason the microphone on my headset has given up the ghost. I probably sound like I'm at the bottom of a well now
dry
because I'm
brushing with
using
the
the
dampening
microphone
pad.
on the USB camera.
So
and I can't hear anybody.
bear with me
because...
for my 2 cents on that after.
Let me try this.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Ta-da!
I can hear you. Don't touch anything.
Ta-da! Ta-da!
What did you do?
Don't know. I realised that I'd got my headphones on charge, and then I thought, oh no, every time I do this, everybody says there's like this feedback buzz. So I thought, I'll pull this USB-C plug out of my headphones, and that proceeded to kill them completely, dead. So, but it looks like we're back in.
3, 2, 1, you're back in the room.
Fucking hell. I could hear everything you were saying, mate. So, as I was
that's fine.
trying to gesture.
I was just trying to keep the boys and girls
yeah, no, good stuff. Good stuff. So,
at home.
yes, right. Let's get back on track. Do you want to go? Let me.
Yeah, let's go.
Hang on a minute.
Let's go first. Come down.
Let me see. I think I'm gonna have to reset your URL on your desktop cam.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Of course you are.
David.
Ow. Let me spin around in a second.
Where are we? Oh no, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. There you go. Right, you're currently in portrait format, which looks a bit freaky.
I shouldn't be. I'm landscape.
Nope. Hang on a sec.
How about now? That's my face.
Yeah, that's your face.
Is that landscape? Oh, I know why it's in portrait.
That's better.
Boys and girls. I can operate the internet.
Yes. So I spared everybody that melodrama. Technical difficulties. Fucking hell, we're good at this shit. Okay, yeah, go for it.
Tonight, as I was just saying on at the start of the stream while Paul was fucking off, I am doing something new. So I'm currently dicking around with an impromptu dampening pad to see how it behaves for dry brushing these corn claws of Karanak miniatures from Warcry up to a very nice high shine.
Right.
And then we're going to slather them with Flesh Tearer's red contrast.
Okay, to go for like a fully armoured red
To go
thingy.
for a metallic red armour, and then we're going to pick out like the back edge of this blade and bits and pieces like that. So
do you know when you said
there
were corn models, I'm like, where did David get corn models from? But no, that makes perfect sense now. So is that
because it's the Warcry set that also has Shaolin vampires?
Because which one was that? Grimwood.
Let me lean out of shot a second.
I do remember vaguely you buying it.
I can't see the fucking name on the bottom of the box.
Oh, don't worry about it. Somebody in the chat will shout out which version of bloody.
But yeah, we have Shaolin monks versus Shaolin vampire monks versus corn that pretend they're dogs.
We should maybe try and play some Warcry this year if we can.
This is why
even if it's only a weekend.
This is why I'm trying to paint it up. This is why, because again, we're in get shit done mode this year.
Yeah.
I'm going for a nice, simple scheme, nice paint job. Go from there. Don't know what the fuck went on there.
No, that's fine. You just foam it just briefly. So So you're basically doing the armor. Are they quite heavily armored? Most corn models tend to be very fleshy with very little armor, but
They
I guess they're
are relatively fleshy and leathered,
oh, okay.
but because we're going over a nice black prime,
Yeah,
and
okay.
because this is messy as fuck to
Yeah,
do
okay.
this process, we're starting with this.
Yeah. These don't care. Darren says hashtag no new games, calling us out. They're not technically.
No, it's not a new. It's not a new game.
No.
I've owned it for several years.
I still
If
have.
you go back through the back catalogue, I think at some point I was trying to paint terrain on stream with an airbrush.
I can remember you painting the terrain. I've got Catacombs, which I've owned since it was released. I was in Scotland, I think. So I don't know.
Yes, you were.
2009, 20.
How much paint have you got on your catacomb set, Paul?
None. I haven't. I've got. I haven't got the terrain assembled. Not all of it. I've got bits clipped off the sprue. I've assembled all of the Flame Warrior models.
Yeah, I'll tell you the nice thing with both of us owning Warcry.
Yeah.
Because it plays relatively quickly, and because we've both got a terrain set, I can play with my miniatures and one of my terrain sets. Then we can reshuffle and go with one of your terrain sets and your minis, etc.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Still play me versus you.
Definitely.
But as I say, we can vary the terrain up, because that's my only criticism of Warcry. If you play 2 or 3 games in an evening, particularly at club, you what's it called? It feels a bit samey after a while.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I meant about us playing it as a Saturday night game, one of our weekend gaming sessions, because I think, again, having played a bit of Warcry, I find it a bit fragile on the way that the mission cards flip. But again, if we're playing it just shits and giggles, don't really care, not mega try hard mode, it's like you say, we've got 4 warbands between us, 2 different terrain sets from different eras of it. I'm sure we can have a bit.
I was just thinking,
even if we only have a little bit of fun with it for a weekend. Do you know what I mean?
Warcry have a multiplayer mode?
Honestly, could not tell you, mate. It's not a game again. The problem with Games Workshop games, I find the deeper you dig, the more dissatisfying and frustrating they become. So I've literally casually brushed up against it. It's a bit like Underworlds. When you casually brush up against it, have a couple of hours of fun with it, and then move on with your life, everything's
fine.
good. If you start to get a little bit OCD, a little bit under the bonnet, it all starts to get frustrating as fuck.
Well, I think I played with some of my what's it called? Iron Jaws.
Yeah.
Against Jack.
Yes, you did, didn't you?
First
At club.
Introduced to me.
Yeah.
And my God, compared to like OG, it got a bit spicy. Hence why I went, fuck it, I'm going to go buy a specific set and be done with it.
Yeah, because again, I mean, which just goes to show, because obviously for those who don't know, Warcry is sort of like a self-contained board game type experience with warbands, similar to the Underworlds thing. But at one point they released books that allowed you to effectively take every current model from Age of Sigmar, the big army game, and build warbands for Warcry using that. And the general consensus of the community was, well, that's broken, that fucker. Because obviously it was never designed for that. And that was never the sort of like, it wasn't even on the fucking table when the design brief was written, I don't think. But for those of you who are interested, there's an entire stream where we cover this topic of, is it ever a good idea as a games manufacturer to try and jemmy every single one of your fucking model products into every single one of your game products, fucking come hell or high water? The conclusion, TLDR, no, it's a shit idea. Come up with a tight design brief, Make things as their own self-contained environments, and it'll develop so much smoother. Is, I think, fair criticism. Darren says
it's a nice idea and a nice principle, but
it's the quickest way to bust something inadvertently, isn't it? It's a quick way to break a game and make it about as much fun as open heart surgery.
Well, it depends if you're the doctor or if you're being operated on.
I mean, Cheese Me says, Games Workshop, the thing is they create the miniatures, then they want to... We did discuss this in the live stream. They open every door. You know, it's like, well, have we got any customers that aren't buying this miniature frame? Well, we need to open a door so that they will buy it. Well, there's a couple of people who play 40k haven't bought these vampires. Quick! Do me some rules!
No. I mean, again, the problem I had with getting into Warcry, because it was a system that's okay. Yes, it is vulnerable, but as you say, for a quick pick up and play game or a quick session with some mates, beers and pretzels, just dicking around, it's fine. It's serviceable.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Patrick
it's
and
nice and quick, and it's nice and snappy, and you can get 3 or 4 games in
exactly
in a usual time.
Exactly.
It's nice for that regard because again, most GW games have fun getting 1 game in.
Yeah, I mean, totally echo that, mate. When Patrick and I tried the game out, we took the original starter set, which was, I can't remember what the factions were.
Iron Golems versus something else.
Was it a Beastie Chaosy faction?
Cabal. Yeah, there was 4. If you're on about the OG, there was the Iron Golems.
Yeah, I played the Iron Golems.
And then 2 others.
Yeah, so, but basically, from a standing start, neither of us had played a single game. We got 3 in an evening. Easy. And that is Warcry's strength, I think. It is literally it's literally a palate cleansing gaming experience.
It's a point and shoot experience. You don't have to overthink it. It's not super tactical. It's not fucking what's it called, like inch measuring to the nth degree of caring about the millimeter, because the game's over before you fucking know it.
Yeah,
you know
and
what I mean?
to be fair, to echo last week's live stream, where we sort of, I went on this journey of self-discovery on Armada and overthinking shit. Again, because so much of Warcry's gaming experience is reliant, because you flip random cards for deployment, map layout, and objectives.
It's very RNG susceptible.
Because of the way that those cards come up and generate wacky combos, you can easily end up with missions where it's like, well, that massively favours your warband. I'm going to do well here. And it's just unavoidable, which is why it's not good to be overly invested, frankly. Again, it's fun. It's funny, really.
It took me a fair while to find a box that I liked, because there's been a couple of misses in like my opinion, but this was the first box that I saw that I liked both factions that were already in the box. So I was like, right, problem solved, we're buying that.
That's another thing I will agree with you, is like Underworlds, certainly up to like Nethermaze where I stopped looking. I don't think they had a model set that missed me. Do you know what I mean? I was like, they're killer. That's, you know, you look at every single set that came out, you think, fuck, those models are beautiful.
They pretty much hit it out of the park with everything that they released for that game.
Warcry was much more hit and miss for me. Some of the Warcry factions I looked at and I was like, nah.
And that was the annoying thing for me, because obviously you need all the other shit to accompany your Warcry gaming experience, the cards, the tokens, the terrain.
Yeah.
They stopped producing the starter set with the Corvus Cabal and the Iron Golems in, because that's the one I was going to get.
Yeah. Hey mate, I'm sure a scalper on eBay can sort you out for a few hundred notes.
But we'll come to that in a bit. We'll come
Spoilers!
to that in a bit. What are you working on, dickhead?
Right. I have been shamed, not really, So basically, David dropped the bombshell on me that we had made a commitment to play the multi-award-winning Moonstone. See what I did there? See what I did? The multi-award-winning Moonstone in 2 weeks on club night. So, bearing in mind he's smashing things out of the park, I thought I better get my fucking arse into gear and do mine. So, what we have here, last night I spent an age cleaning everything up and assembling the miniatures. There was quite a lot of flash and some horrible mould lines, but I think I've done a fairly good job.
Even though there's a lot of horrible flash and mould lines, did you have to do any repair work like you always seem to have to do with your TT Combat miniatures?
No. To be honest, I have got this. So this is, I don't know. I'm not all. I think this is Boris. Let me get my reference cards, then I'll get all the names right. So this is Boris, the Bunny Summoner, and pretty much the worst. This is how good these resins are. This was the worst one. There's a bit of a gap because his arms are on a separate piece that wrap around his upper torso from behind, and you probably can't even see it, but there is a bit of a gap to be filled there where this fur is. That's completely out of focus, Paul. And that was the worst. I mean, the rest of these miniatures are pretty bloody spot on.
That's really not bad then, really, is it?
And there were 2 or 3 pieces. The most complicated one was Eric here on his moose. Again, this spear was basically bent into a U shape. But I dipped it in a mug of boiling hot water, straightened instantly, and it's set perfectly. I mean, this was the shield separate, the moose is in 2 halves. Eric's arms needed adding, so this one was in the horn. The antlers obviously were separate, but again, it's all gone together beautifully. So we've got, I think it's Eric the Enlightened. That's
the one that came out of the campaign that they did, isn't it?
Yep. We've got the Troll Wizard, Noel. This one looks like this is going to be so cool to paint because it's all like moss and mushrooms and loads of stuff all over it. We've got the Jackalope, which is the were-bunny monster thing. Obviously, I've already shown off Boris, the Bunny Summoner, who is like, as the name suggests,
the leader to that.
A summoner of little murder bunnies, of which we have 3 here.
Are they like the really angry bunnies in what's it called?
Holy Grail.
Yeah.
I don't know is the honest answer.
I want to say yes.
But I would be surprised if there aren't definite similarities. And then I've got the witches. I'm just referring to my reference cards here. So we have Danica, who is the evil crone. These are 3 witches together. We have Zariah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You got basically there's the 3 stages of witchdom, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's the really nice fair lady.
Yep. So the young girl, Zariah, Danica, who's the old dusk witch, and then Antonia, the noonday witch. So the matronly lady with her massive cooking pot.
Who's gonna beat living shit out of you.
This now, everybody who's much better at this multi-award-winning Moonstone stuff than me can probably confirm or deny this, but when we bought these, obviously, I think you only need 6 models for your warband, don't you? Is it 6?
Yes.
So,
yeah, I'm fairly sure.
My 6 models are technically Boris, the witches, the Noel, and Eric.
But you get extras, don't you?
Well,
'Cause you have...
obviously Boris summons the bunnies, so they're extra. And as I was buying the models, I was umming and ahhing about which big creatures to buy. And the chap, I can't remember his name. Somebody say it in the comments. In
the guy that actually owns
the designer
from Goblin King Games,
because he was running his stall at UKGE, and he said, "Well, Tom Greenway." So Tom said, "Well," because I thought I was like, "Oh, I've got Boris. I have to buy the jackalope because that's just rude." But then I did like the look of Eric as well. I wasn't intending to get Eric. And Tom said, well, you know, technically, if you buy Eric, he's your 6th model because you could always summon the jackalope. And I was like, sorry, what? I can do what again? Hey, what? So... I don't know if this is a strategy or whether it's going to turn out to be utter fucking madness, but I'm bringing 10 models to a 6 model game, which I think might be a thing. and if it's horrible, I blame Tom. So my plan tonight, let's cut the waffle. My plan tonight, as everybody can see probably, these are classic slotters, which does mean that we've got some gaps here where you can just see through there if I waggle my finger, where the miniatures don't quite cover the slots. It's more apparent on these larger miniatures where obviously the slots are completely exposed. So what I need to do is get some filler and basically fill those gaps. Then I want to probably get some basing texture on. Then if I get round to it, we're going to be cracking on with some priming, get the airbrush going, and getting these things ready for the next step. So that's what I intend to do tonight. I'll be honest, I don't think I'm going to get probably past the base texture, but we'll see how we go.
Hey, there's hoping, right? There's being ambitious. Darren saying use paper and PVA to hide those.
I was looking at that. That's an interesting idea.
I tell you what, because we'll talk about painting comp in a second.
Yes. I tell you what, you waffle about painting comp. I shall try and redeem myself. I'm not using my desk cam and get the photos uploaded.
I'm not going to waffle about painting comp too much because what I'm actually going to waffle about, while you're foraying that, is I'm one step away from highlighting with my dry brush with a dampening pad. I'm fucking loving it. The paint is not drying on my brush. The paint is going down beautifully and smooth. The only thing I will obviously err on the side of caution is obviously it's a dry brush, but it's slightly wet. So it doesn't quite behave like you used to.
Is it coming off a bit heavy?
Yeah, in places, but I'm liking it.
Do you know what, Darren? I may go, because I've got my laser printer is in the hall, I may go and grab some paper and actually cut that, do what you're suggesting, cut myself some masks and just use a dab of the old PVA to stick them down. I think you might be onto something there, son. Yeah, Trevor, they're still on my phone, mate. The reason they haven't made it to Discord is that they haven't even got off my phone. Pictures. If anybody hears any barking, that's my wife taking in a supermarket delivery. And of course, my dogs have to give accompaniment. So that's what that is. The world ending. Do you know what?
Well, the world ending according to dash hounds.
Yeah. Yeah, do you know what? That is a good shout.
I bet it'd dry quicker, and I bet the other thing you could do rather than using PVA, I bet you could just use fucking super glue, and it'll set up like card.
Cheesy, that is not what I meant.
It is honest, Ross.
Fucking hell. What have I done? No! Right.
Opened a can of worms, I believe, is the answer, sir.
Let's do... Hang on a minute. Right, let's go here. Let's do this. Properties.
Ow.
Shift. Select all of these files. Delete them. Select all of these files. Delete them.
What has everybody else been up to this week? Has anybody else seen anything on the news that they want to shout out while we're waiting for a certain ginger to sort his life out? Oh, this is nice. It's on the interwebs forever. Frozen paints on YouTube. What do you mean by frozen paints? Do you mean like actual?
I know what you means. That was Goobertown Hobbies, I believe, who did a...
Yeah. I saw that come up in my recommended for me feed. I haven't watched it yet, about the fact that certain people avoid buying paint in winter because obviously it freezes.
Yeah.
And does it technically fuck your paint up?
And he did some tests and said, yeah, apparently freezing paints is a bad idea. Who knew? Who knew?
Well, it doesn't surprise me, let's be honest, because
yeah, it's not really revelatory. I'll be honest, I to be honest, I didn't read. I mean, again, maybe I'm doing Goobertown a disservice, but I was like, no, I don't really need to watch this. You know, freezing paints fucks them up. You do surprise me. 28 mag compilation book on Kickstarter ending soon. I've backed it. 28 mag.
How much did that set you back, Darren? If you don't mind me asking.
I know not what 28 mag is, but I may have a little Google in a second. What's this he's talking about? So let's show. So for everybody who doesn't know, if you're joining us for the first time, every month, first Monday of the month, we run a painting event at our gaming club where everybody in attendance gets to vote on PDF only boutique magazine, minis focus boutique magazine. Oh, hence the 28, because it's 28 mil presumably. Interesting. I can imagine there why that would be right up your street, Darren. Yeah. So is it like a catalogue or more pictures of painted books? Painted models, painted books. Fucking listen to him, what a tit. So yeah.
I mean, you can paint books, mate, but
Grimdark Turnip 20 Aces. It's been managed on the Discord a bit. Right. Okay.
Nice.
So the only thing I've seen, to be fair, Trash Talk is every time I look at my phone, it's another notification from Trash Talk at the moment. It's like,
right, let's have a beer.
So yeah, every month, first Monday, we do the painting event where people in attendance get to vote on what they think is the best models submitted, and we have a theme. So this month the theme was new arrivals. So David and I decided to paint miniatures for Mutant Year Zero, which we showed off last week on stream, and the other entrant, V, put in some models for Wasteland, Fallout Wasteland Warfare from Odyssey.
Some Enclave models for Fallout Wasteland Warfare.
So David was the winner, weren't you, mate? So this is David's finished entry.
So this is the entire psionic side of my box, and a random robot managed to wheedle his way in because he was done.
Yeah, and they're looking really good. That's one thing I didn't. Yeah, he's done a cracking job on them. I love the color palette. The basing looks great, and I love the fact that he used the powders, whatever you call them.
Used Vallejo, not Vallejo. Where is it?
Was it
MIG, light rust pigment.
That's it, pigment powders. That was the word I was fishing for.
Bind it in.
I'm definitely going to be hitting mine with some pigment powders, I think, because I love the way it's given them the real sort of like raggedy, dusty look. It really sells the setting.
It sells a really nice rusty base effect, or a dusty, muddy base effect. But then the perk you get with it, because putting pigments on is quite a messy process, you automatically always end up getting some on the miniatures.
Did you?
And then in the process of trying to clean it off a bit, you what's it called? Give them the effect that they've been walking through the desert.
Did you do the pigment powders after the flocks or before?
Before.
Yeah, might have been a better shout to do it after. But I love the yellow.
Still got more minis to finish, and I was unsure of how that rust pigment was going to affect that neon yellow.
Yeah, I think though it's so strong, even if it had been knocked back and toned a little, it would look cool. But the yellow is fabulous. This is V's entry. Now, what are these? Enclave, did you say, mate?
Yeah, they're Enclave 4 Tesla armor. Tesla
battlesuits, aren't they?
Power armor for the Enclave.
I'm afraid my Fallout foo.
Fallout Wasteland Warfare knowledge and Fallout knowledge is shit.
My Fallout foo is weak, so I don't know what these are. But they're pretty cool.
Nice effort from V. Really like the lenses on them. Only thing I'm a little unsure of is the bases. I feel that it's all just a little bit grey.
True. I do like that it's a brown tone rather than the grey tone of the models. At least there is some separation. And I do like the red accent colours, but they need an edge. White is not good.
I mean, and again, a little bit of like Mojave Desert here, or some dusty pigments, and I think it'd really pop them off.
To be fair, if those were edged, they'd look 1,000 times better. Which this is a good demonstration, kids, of how tiny details massively elevate paint jobs. And then there's my entry. I managed to get 4 out of my 5 done. Didn't quite get Mr. Hair Guy done, but I'm pleased with what I did get done. So we got, again, I have my crib sheet here. We have the imaginatively named ducks. I think you can guess which one that is. DUX. Then we have...
thought that was the reindeer.
No, he's got an even more imaginative name. He's coming. So then we've got Pharaoh, the fox.
He's coming, stood like that. Is he feeling okay?
That's why he's got his legs apart. He doesn't want his thighs to stick together. Then we've got the boar, who's called Boormin. Get it? Then we have the imaginatively and incredibly creatively named moose. I won't tell you which one that is. But yeah, I was really pleased with these. It's basic bitch painting at its best. It's literally just base colours and washes, mostly Agrax. I did go back in and repaint the tusks on the boar just to give them a little bit more of a lift, but the rest of it I didn't need to do anything. The other thing I am pleased with, it doesn't really come across in the photo, but I did do the bloody lumberjack jacket, the black and red checking on Moose as he is in the artwork.
You can just about see it.
And you know what? I was dreading doing it, and I nearly talked myself out of doing it. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't stand very much close scrutiny, but
yeah, but at
if I
tabletop
can,
distance, it looks fine, dude.
do you know what? If you're at all nervous about freehanding patterns like tartan or checks
actually,
or whatever,
while you're on that,
yeah,
just roll back to my robot and the cape.
yeah, I'll come back to it in a sec. If you're at all nervous about patterns, just give it a go. The only thing I would say is patterns like this are the one instance where you want a small brush. Well, generally, we as painters, people have a habit of using a brush that's too small for the job they're doing. But patterns like that are where small, you need control and fine point. And to be fair, you don't want too much paint because you do not want to lose control of it. But do you know what? I was really winding myself up about it. But then when I did it, it didn't take me more than 30 minutes. And I only, literally, one of the black lines went a bit bulgy and wobbly. So I thought, oh, I better go back in with the red and tidy that up because it looks completely off. But the rest of it, I surprised even myself because I am a really low effort painter. So yeah, don't be scared with patterns and things like that. Again, complicated shit like tartan, look at a tutorial online, but give it a try. I think you'll surprise yourself. So you were going to say about your cape, mate. I've got the rear shot.
Yes. So also, in a similar vein to Paul, if you're frightened of freehand, use some decals. Because even if the decals don't quite sit right, you can paint over them and make them look like the, what's it called? The yellow sort of daggery thing on the back of that robot is freehand just by painting over a decal.
So that, for those at home, that's the red caped miniature second in from the right hand side. You can just see the yellow in the center of his back. And that was a 40k decal, wasn't it, that you chopped up?
That was a 40k Space Wolves decal.
So yeah, that's another thing. Don't be afraid to mix and match. There's a reason we hobbyists are complete squirrels and never throw anything away. That's because you can pretty much turn anything to anything if you try hard enough. So yeah, that was we didn't have any submissions from the viewers this month. Obviously not inspired by the theme, but that's fine. Again, we don't do this competition for glory. We do it just for sort of like rep and just really to say to people, look, here's a good reason to get something painted. So what about next month, mate? Or the end of the month?
Next month is Love's Company.
Love's Company. So get your thinking caps on. Yeah, you said, Darren, you're getting obsessed with Dark Souls and Gundam, mate. To be fair, just give yourself a break. Why not? You've earned it. I'm going to go and get a piece of paper in a minute and a pair of scissors, a decent pair of scissors. So yes, next month's...
Dude, you're going to have to wait because we've got 15 minutes to shoehorn the news in.
Well, that's all right. It's fine. Yes. To be fair, Darren, I know the obsession. I'm currently obsessed with Farm Sim 25, so you're in good company. No criticism from me. Yeah. So
yeah, the fact that I'm painting more than you at the moment is a bit ridiculous.
The student is definitely outshining the master here. Look, again, look, David's painting Epiphany, right? This guys, this is heresy. This is David base coats, washes. What have you got in these 6 models? 8 hours, including everything.
Total including basing and fucking around and rimming.
Hey! Sorry, mate.
9 1/4.
9 1/4 hours for 6 miniatures.
And that doesn't include the fact that there's 4 sat here on my table in various stages of base coat. So that 9 1/4 has got some additional time elsewhere as well.
Yeah, because you started painting all 10 to different to go. Hello, Crispin, sir.
Why is it we said rimming and Crispin arrives?
It's like if we say Russian uniform, Ewok will go, yes. Everybody has this. It's like calling Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Fucking brilliant. Right. So yeah,
that is looking pretty fucking baller.
Loves company, guys. Get your thinking caps on. Obviously, I'm not gonna give you any leads, but we will be. So, just to be clear,
well, Paul's already got his, but whether he's going to do it or not, it will depend on how he gets on with his moonstone.
Oh no, I will be doing it because it's so low effort. That's what makes it such a genius entry for the competition. Not only is it bang on theme, but it's so low effort. To not do it would be rude. Because the hardest thing about it might be if I decide to go down the route of decals of some kind. But yes, so February the 3rd, which is a Monday, is the club night when we will be showing the models at club. But obviously for you guys, that will be Thursday the 6th of February that we will
No, it won't be February, dipshit, because we're in February right now.
March.
It will be March.
Rewind.
Paul doesn't know how calendars work, boys and girls.
Monday the 3rd of March, and then we'll be sharing it on stream Thursday the 6th of March. Not in our time machine to the 6th of February.
Today? We're showing off on today.
Showing off next month's now! So, yeah, if people want to enter, you can either send me a picture via a DM on the OTT Discord server, or you can send a picture to the Gmail address, which is in the video description down below, and we will add it into the mix and show them off. So, and because again,
so that is loves company.
It's just about getting shit done. Now, we're going to waste some more time and eat into David's news time by sharing something else with you, which is that we now have, I got around to sorting the jingle out for the news. So,
Ewok, if you're catching this later and you're not here right now, you are a living legend, sir.
Unfortunately, there is a lot of, so for background, Ewok Kebab, who's one of our viewers, does these fantastic AI generated musical pieces that have been littered throughout the stream. We've got intro, outro, and he did as a news jingle, but the AI tool obviously generates a full 3-minute song, and it's got loads of super cool lyrics, but obviously at 3 minutes it doesn't really work as a jingle, so I've had to trim it down, but here it is for everybody to enjoy.
It's the part of the show that we have come to know as the latest salty blizzard of nerdy sorrow. More news than you can shake the salt at. More news than you can shake the salt at.
Genius.
As I say, fucking Ewok, hats off to you, sir. Living legends.
Oh dear. So, yeah, it's very good. And honestly, I wish I could play you guys the whole 3-minute thing, because there's some great lyrics about Modifius customer service, and oh my Christ, but I might think of a way of doing something with it.
I have a solution to this.
Go on.
Watch this space for our next show coverage video.
Oh, do you know the other thing I did think? The problem is, again, it doesn't really work. I did think run the whole 3-minute thing through the news segment at like tiny volume so it's not intrusive. But again, people miss the lyrics and they won't get the full experience.
Exactly. So just stick it over the front of the...
Yeah, I'll find some way to showcase the genius that is Ewok Kebab. Yeah, another Brokeback X, mate. So come on then, mate. Let's do some news. Let me go to this.
Where are we going first? Who are we attacking first this week?
Well, we're not going to do that one first. Let's talk a little bit about Night Model's game that we missed.
So last night, boys and girls, I was scrolling through Instagram while chatting pre-show shit with a certain ginger. And on my Instagram feed, it came up and went, "You want these in your life," and sent me a load of images to my mini factory for the fact that Night Models are releasing these miniatures as 3D printed. So then me and Paul dived down a little bit of a rabbit hole, didn't we, sir?
Yes.
We went and looked at what we had missed in Night Models.
We'll go back to this. We'll come back.
Game of Thrones game. Because actually, quite surprisingly, it's not been well covered, really, has it?
I can remember when they first talked about this. It must have been this sort of time last year, 2024, and they sent out a press release about this new Game of Thrones miniatures game was going to be launched. And I remember covering it on stream as a news item and being like, I could get into that because I am a bit of a Game of Thrones nerd. I have all of the books, probably all of the ones we're going to get. Not bitter. And I've watched all but the last season of the TV series. So I do remember thinking, "Ooh, this has got my interest." But do you know what? I forgot all about it. And I haven't seen anything about this in my little bubble. Now, admittedly, I am not much of a doom scroller. I only really check out OTT for news, and that's it, really.
Yeah, but again, even OTT didn't cover this.
No, but OTT don't do Night Models much. They've only really vaguely covered Batman in the past. And I think when David and I were talking about this, I don't know. Let's preface this by saying this is a very much something of interest. Does anybody know, is this game actually doing anything? Is it doing very well? We can tell that it was launched May 24. They did a 2-player starter
They released the app in June because we had a look last night. Yeah. They did a load of change logs between June and August.
Yeah.
And then since August, the app hasn't been touched. The main reason we came to this, though, as I say, was it popped up that they were doing 3D printing minis on my mini factory for this.
Yeah.
So we then went and had a rummage in the drawer. But the best is some of the minis that are on my mini factory, for example, the Targaryens, aren't even released and in the core app.
Well, yeah, they're not in the app. They don't appear to be on the bloody website. So, does anybody know if this game is actually doing anything? Yeah, really all you need. You're not wrong, Crispin. You're not wrong. So, the other weird thing is, like, when you search for this on YouTube, quite a few people did unboxings of the 2-player starter set May, June time last year. But again, then it's just like fucking tumbleweed zone.
It's radio silence, isn't it?
I did find a 2-hour playthrough on a really random channel, probably about a massive channel like ours, which I haven't watched yet. And obviously we could tell that you can get the rulebook free online. A lot of it seems, you see, I'll be honest, when David and I start looking at this last night, I'm a bit conflicted. First of all,
it's app driven
yeah,
for a lot of the stat cards, etc.
yeah.
But then you need the core objective cards, and you can't get the core objective cards without buying the set.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're not in the app.
Yeah.
And they're not available for download as a PDF like the Batman ones.
No. And they're releasing, obviously, 3D printed miniatures in the same vein as this game.
Yeah.
But are they actually going to be represented within the app? Don't really know.
I don't
Then the next weird thing is we started looking at some of the stats, didn't we? Some of the stats and the rules related to these models.
Yeah. Well, again,
Cersei, the NPC character. Oh yeah, we're just going to throw her into combat.
I mean, for anybody who's into the Game of Thrones lore, obviously it represents a dark, gritty, low fantasy setting where, yeah, I'll be honest, Darren will come to that, mate. Darren says app driven equals a hard no. The setting's very political. The stories have huge political dimensions. There's lots of machinations and betrayals. And that's good from one point of view, in that it allows characters that have absolutely no place whatsoever on a battlefield to be front and center in driving the narrative of the story. So House Lannister is a great example. You have Tyrion and Cersei, who are the children of a guy called Tywin Lannister. Tywin Lannister is a tall, middle-aged, blonde-haired, sculpted Adonis of a man who's a battle-hardened veteran, superb general, and a total psychopath. He should be wearing crimson armor and ripping shit up. Makes total sense. Cersei is a refined lady of, she's a political killer, but she's not a killer. She's not coming at you with a knife to cut your throat, okay? Tyrion is a dwarf. He can defend himself if you give him axe and shield. He can probably try and stay alive through low cunning and just grim determination. But he is not a fighter. So the first thing I said to David is, okay, to be fair, she is a lady of pleasure, but there's no refinement in it. She'll sleep with anyone, even her twin brother. So I said to David, let's look at how Cersei has been represented or manifested in the game. And it looked a little bit weird to me.
She's got an attack. It only does 1 damage, so it's not the best.
Yeah.
However, on that attack, she has the ability to fuck around with your opponent's objectives and therefore scoring opportunities if you put her in harm's way and get her attacking.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of represents the political side of the game.
Yeah. Manipulating your opponent's objective cards instead of dealing. Although her attack still does 1 damage.
Still does 1 damage, yeah.
How?
Death by 1,000 cuts.
Fucking. Yeah. Yeah. Very different cheese me. Very different cheese me. And I'll be honest. The well on this game may have been poisoned for me. Don't get me wrong, I am still going to research the shit out of it. If stuff is available and still reasonably priced, particularly if my friend over here can 3D print stuff, I still might end up getting a bit of it. But for me, A Song of Ice and Fire, the Simon mass combat loosely game,
rank and flank,
does a much better job because
those political figures don't even sit on the board.
No.
They sit on their own sideboard, don't they? Fucking around with stuff.
During the development, they said, well, how do we, if we're doing a war game, it's dead easy to see how Gregor Clegane, Rob Stark, all of these warriors of renown, it's easy to see how, Night Darren, it's easy to see how you jimmy them into this game, okay? But how do we jimmy Cersei Lannister, a woman who weighs about 6 stone wet through, and her dwarf brother, who's a political mastermind genius, but essentially a cripple and a dwarf? It's like, how do we do that? And they came up with the brilliant design element of they've got this zone off to the side of the table, for want of a better term, where you place these command miniatures in zones for particular effects. So it represents this person's political machinations, which then might mean that you weaken one of your enemy's units on the table, like give it
swings the battle in your favor, kind of thing.
And it does it so like you can say that, you know, she obviously did something to intimidate their lord, so now they've got fear counters, or they're not as robust and, like, you know, they're more likely to break and flee because she's undermining things from the background. And that, the moment I saw that, I was like, that is a very smart implementation of an IP into a game environment that doesn't really fit 100%.
Yeah.
And I think the well of this game, as I've said, has been poisoned by that being such a clever implementation, and also the fact that
this.
Let me just finish, mate. So the other thing that poisons the well a bit for me is the miniatures from Simon are board game PVC miniatures, and particularly the first waves weren't fantastic sculpts, but they were very good sculpts because Simon's been doing this for a long time. So what poisons this game for me is I already own a lot of these miniatures. Now they are in 28mm, not what's this, mate? 38mm?
38.
Again, well, 38mm, why? Just because you're clever? What the fuck? Evening, JJ. I mean, so
for me, it's a bit more intriguing for me. I'm not overly into Game of Thrones, but if I wanted to get into a Game of Thrones IP to play against the glorious Spam and Egg and against Ginge here,
yep,
I would probably pick this one up because the overall hobby commitment is lesser. It is a skirmish level game.
Yeah.
But again, there's some weird design choices here. The use of D6s for attacks and stats and other bits and pieces, I'm a bit unsure of. Knight have done a fucking cracking job on the miniatures. Absolutely fucking cracking job on the miniatures.
I'm not, again, caveat, something that Knight have often been crucified for is their quality control. You know, the miniatures are good when they're good, but they do have a piss poor reputation for customer service and quality
on the head
control.
of if they're giving you STLs, mate.
Well, that's
You're
true.
In control of the
you
quality.
are in control of that. Watch this space. David and I may end up getting into it. Again, the fact that it's an IP, a Game of Thrones IP game that excites him means it's probably, you know, that's a breath of life into it. Again,
I like the look of the I like the look of the miniatures. I like the fact that it's less of a commitment for me. It's got 3D printing elements, and I think from the looks of it, the only commitment I'm going to have to do is go out and buy a White Walkers or a Night's Watch objective card deck at €20.
Yeah, because you can print everything else.
Available online.
Yeah. Yeah, that is fair. Although, again, I don't understand why you've got so many digital assets and then you still have to buy the fucking card decks. That just
And again,
doesn't
there's a
compute for
weird
me.
thing in this game. You get supplied 34 cards in that deck, and you build a 30-card deck for your objective. So there's a bit of mystery and intrigue between you and your opponents, even if you learnt the shit out of each other's deck.
A Song of Ice and
But there's
Fire
not-
did a similar thing. I think
Yeah.
A Song of Ice and Fire deck is only like 12 or 15 cards. It's smaller.
But again, there's not as much. Because again, 34 versus 30, I could understand if it was 34 down to like 15 or 20. Do you know what I mean? Leave a third of them out.
Yes.
34 into 30 is pretty much you're all running the same deck.
Yeah, exactly.
Very similar
Yeah,
deck.
yeah. And the other thing is, again, while it's buy the deck, play the faction, yes, but if they start with the Underworld's fucking deck building shit, and like that Malediction that we looked at, was it Malediction?
Oh yeah, fucking don't even get me
It's
started
like-
on Malediction. That shit's funded, by the way. It's funded in less than 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, good luck. I hope if you play it, you enjoy it. If I want to play a CCG, I'll play a CCG. If I want to play a miniatures game, I'll play a miniatures game. I am not playing a miniatures game and a CCG welded together. As we said to the guy at Athena Games in Norwich, we don't play Underworlds that way. We basically take the cards that come with the models, run it as is, and even Games Workshop have given up on it as a model. You now, with the new iteration of
Look,
Underworlds,
let's not get down that garden path. Let's finish the news. We can talk about that in a minute about predatory tactics.
Okay, right. So we want to do this one last. Let's show this off. So this was what Darren was talking about. You saw me pulling it up earlier when we were just beginning the news. So this is, I didn't realise this was who's that? Dave Taylor is behind this 28 thing. So yeah, it looks like a real hodgepodge of beautiful stuff. You've got artwork, miniature shots, articles. It features some of the big hitters in the bloody miniature painting and hobby world. Looks great. And who doesn't love a beautiful coffee table book? Look at that. You got fold outs.
Ooh, nice.
And
Quite a high funding goal then, if there's 95k and stuff on there. as well.
They're up to £76,000. They only wanted 20,000, so they've absolutely fucking smashed it. It's only got 4 days to go, peeps. So if you want a copy of this, unless they have one of these fucking pledge
Late
managers
pledge
that
goals.
stays open for 6 months, it looks like you're not going to have long. In terms of pledges, $60 for the physical book, about £49-ish. And that's your only pledge level. It's basically give me the book or do not. So
nice and simple though.
Yeah.
Then.
Again, I love Kickstarters like this. This is what Kickstarter's for. Just somebody who's got a really simple idea. You know, give me the money and you can have it. You know, the stretch goals. There aren't a ton of them. You know, there's a couple. Extra artwork here, extra article there. Yeah. But yeah, nice. What shall we do? Let's do this. So everybody who has been watching us for a while knows that I play Asami in Malifaux, and let me copy this URL. David found me some great little articles on Goonhammer.
Yeah, these came up on my Google For You feed, and I saw them, clicked on them, and was like, Paula's going to love these. So when I was on lunch on a nice little vape break, I had a look at these, had a little flick through. So part one was all about Asami and the human side. and what they've done with that, and again gave Paul an eye opener on some of the lore as well, didn't it, mate?
Yeah, I didn't realise that
one of the characters is Asami's mother.
Yeah, I had no fucking idea.
This article's all about the Oni, isn't it?
Yeah, so
all about the demons.
This is the second article, and I think it's probably the better one, because they go into each of the models that you can bring into the faction. I think they're all mentioned. They are pretty much all mentioned. And again, here's an insight into the way Paul plays games on fucking hard mode. The first thing that they discuss is this Kamaitachi model, which, and then basically they say, in summary, it's busted as fuck. Bring this every time you play the game. Just so that everybody's clear, what's the only model I don't have painted? That would be Kamaitachi. Whoopsie! Might have been a good idea to put him to the front of the queue. So that's giving me a little kick up the arse. I might actually get him painted as he's so damn good. But yeah, it's a great article. It's written by, or it's heavily contributed by a guy called... Where is it? Simon Drayson, who I'd never heard of, but apparently he's one of the sort of like top Asami players in the Malefosphere. So I'll be searching out to see if he's done any of the blogs, because it's great to get some insight. Malifaux is a very fiddly game, and to get some insight on how you're supposed to be comboing miniatures and exploiting their abilities is really handy.
And particularly with something like Asami.
Yeah. Again, not an easy master to play. But there's some great tips in here. And it really is a great article. Another thing really to shout out is I am not much of a goon hammerer. I don't tend to visit Goonhammer much or read a lot of their stuff. But actually, it just goes to show you it's not just all, clickbaity news articles. There's some real meaty articles on Goonhammer.
It's not all GW either, is it?
Well, obviously not.
They are starting to diversify.
Yeah. Obviously not. Well, that's taken us 15 minutes over.
Amazing.
I need to go get scissors and paper, or I'm going to get nothing done.
You go get scissors and paper. I'm going to start getting salty. Because we've got one final news article to cover.
Yeah.
And it leads to tonight's topic. So I'm signed up for Mantic Games' marketing emails. Yesterday, I got an email from Mantic Games going, we've got a load of offers on. So I went and did my usual thing and went and clicked to see what the crack was. Mantic are doing mystery boxes for board games. And my God, did my blood boil and cause tonight's fucking topic to come out of the woodwork. I am sick and tired of these mystery boxes and people just fucking being annoying and going, we've got a load of shit left. Let's throw it all in a box and make people buy it, but it's a blind buy, so people are going to buy more of it. Fucking why? So the background to this, these boxes, they're guaranteeing you're getting a full board game, you're getting some expansions, you're getting some accessories. They've done 4 different types of boxes, and you might even get Hellboy that's advertised up at like 80 odd quid on the Mantic store at the moment for the base game. So you're getting a massive deal and discount if you get Hellboy in your box. But the principle is that's if you get Hellboy in your box, because it's a 50 quid box. You might also get the 25 quid fire sailed Overdrive with a load of Overdrive expansions.
Yeah.
You might get some League of Infamy. You might get some brand new Dungeon Saga Origins. You don't really know till the box turns up.
And like they've said in the obviously this is the shop entry for the box. You pay £49. You get a random assortment of shit. There are four core box variants. So you can imagine they've obviously got at least four products that they're massively overstocked on and want to clear. And they've taken them as a core to build a package round. And they've made these 4 sets of stuff with some tiny variation in it. But even then, they admit, even if you buy 2 boxes, you could get we can't promise you won't get duplicates. I'm not. Yes. Do you know what? I'll give you that, Cheese Me. At least there is
that's what I was about to say.
There is no artifice to this. I cannot fault Mantic for the way that they have structured the shop entry and the way that they've advertised it. I mean, they have spelled it out. If you order 5 of them, 2 of them are going to be basically identical. You know, and they will, if a customer buys multiple, they will put the effort in to make sure, let's call them A, B, C, D. They will make sure that if you buy 4, you will get an A, a B, a C, and a D. So they'll do as much as they can to avoid feel bads. And they've spelled it out. But again, although I'm not as angry about this, I get why David's pissed off. My 2 cents on this is I totally understand why they've done this from a business perspective. When you run a business,
they've done it from a business perspective, like you say. The issue I have with it is the fact of the matter is, between Club and myself, we own 3 of possibly the 4 games that are in this. It's immediately a hard no from me for buying it.
Yeah.
Because I already own 3 of the 4.
Yeah.
The other year, and again, I'm going to caveat this here. The other year, TT Combat did a fire sale on all Wave 1 stuff that they had and did mystery boxes.
Yeah.
So you could get everything from the 5 factions. Paul, in a similar vein, didn't touch them with a barge pole because you already had 2 Drop Zone Commander factions, didn't you?
I did. And I already knew that I didn't really need much to make them playable armies. And the one thing I didn't want to waste money on duplicates that were of no use to me. So from my point of view, they're like, absolutely not.
Whereas from my point of view, I own all 5 boxes from Wave 1, which isn't enough to make a 1,000-point army for each faction.
Yeah. It
was a guaranteed buy for me because it didn't matter what I got, I could put some of it to use.
Yeah. Here's a question. I think that you've highlighted the issue there. There is nothing different between these Mantic products and the TT Combat Drop Zone Fire Sale products. The only thing that was different in that context was you, wasn't it? And your situation and your needs. Cheese Me says here it works, and that's why they've done it. I realise that, mate, because they did it last year, didn't they?
They did it last year.
When I was Googling this, they had a 2024 box. I can't remember how it worked or what was in it. But I did.
But this is what I was saying to you.
So Warlord do them as well?
The surprise boxes, when it's something generic, say terrain, because I'm fairly sure they've done a terrain blind buy before.
Who? Mantic?
Fantasy, the fantasy, sci-fi, etc. And you just got whatever they gave you.
Yeah.
That's fine. Terrain is useful. Terrain goes across multiple different games, multiple different systems. I don't feel bad about saying, I'm going to spend 50 quid to get like 60, 70, 80 quid's worth of product.
Yeah.
help Mantic out clearing their shelves and buy it because I need some more sci-fi terrain or I need some more fantasy terrain or whatever it happens to be.
Do you know what? I'm with you there, because I think if they'd said it was just a terrain crate product, I'm like you. It's like, okay, so I ended up with 2 Wizards library sets. That doesn't matter. It's like, it's a Wizards library set. I can do loads with that.
Yeah, exactly. But not only are we in a niche at the moment, we're in even more of a niche because it's board games from a war games manufacturer.
That's yeah. That is something that I don't understand. Is that obviously, if I get the same Dungeon Saga expansion twice, what the fuck use is that to me? You know,
and
I
again,
really don't want that.
That's the point. That's the problem here.
Yeah.
Or again, could you imagine if you bought 5 boxes to ensure that you got a duplicate of something, and you happen to end up with 2 core boxes of Dungeon Saga and a repeat of some of the expansions?
Yeah.
Because there's only 4 expansions out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could give it as a Christmas gift, but it got me and Paul talking about predatory marketing and predatory techniques of sale within wargaming as a whole. And this is not us kicking Mantic. They're not the only ones doing it here.
Yeah. And plus, I think as well, this is very much an opinion piece. Like Cheese Me said, these things sell. People are buying these things. Again, my immediate thought is 50 quid and you don't know what you're getting? Just don't. You know, 50 quid's a lot of money. Just spend your money in a more targeted way. But that's my advice. I guess if there's insane value in them, then and again, yeah, absolutely, Cheese Me, absolutely, it was. Well, I wouldn't. I don't know as it was worse, but it was certainly as bad. I mean,
but it's not just blind buy boxes from the likes of GW, Mantic, TT Combat that are bad and predatory. As Paul's already touched on there, it's 40, 50 quid and you don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you are buying. All you know is you're going to have some games turn up from Mantic, but you've rolled the dice on what they are. There are other just as egregious sales tactics, predatory marketing. The first one that immediately jumped out to us was the FOMO with Cursed City and fucking Kill Team releases. GW didn't release enough of that product. They got scalped to shit on the internet because there wasn't enough of that product to go round. And then if you wanted that product, you were having to pay double, triple, in some cases even quadruple because of the FOMO.
I must confess, I think, again, this is going to be a weird main topic. We're actually ranking how bad predatory marketing tactics are. But if we're to even entertain that that's a valid idea, FOMO and marketing things to deliberately exploit feelings of missing out, which is what just better explain, because people may not know. FOMO, everybody, stands for fear of missing out. And obviously the idea is that you either deliberately or by design produce a limited quantity of something with no intention to supply any more, knowing that the demand for it will be so high that you have no chance of being left where Mantic are. So
Yeah.
It is like the total inversion of what Mantic have done. What Mantic have done is, well, we want to make sure that we do not have our customers chasing too little product and being exploited by people online who want to, scalp them of their money. So we're going to manufacture perhaps another 1,000 units than we need.
Yeah, we're gonna overproduce slightly, and we're gonna be left with some extra stock that we don't really know what we're gonna do with. So after a couple of years, we might do like this situation here as some blind buy boxes, just to and again,
I'll be honest,
to recoup the costs that have gone in.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. I can imagine that by now, Mantic have said, look, just overproduce by a smidge. We'll take an educated guess, then add 500 units, because if we end up having to do a crate at the end of the year or post Christmas, then it's not the end of the world. It's worked before, and it's better for the customer in the long run. Do you know what? If that's what's going on at Mantic HQ, good on you. At least that's a customer-driven way to look at things. I would say, though, if you are thinking of buying one of these blind buy products, just don't. Having done CCGs for years,
and this is what was about to come on. CCGs, Cheeseme's mentioned Pokemon trading card game. There's Magic the Gathering, and there's all the other CCGs that Paul's had fucking history with.
I mean,
you blind buy packs on the basis that you're gambling to get what you want to build your deck, and that is the biggest problem with the CCGs.
Yeah, and to be fair, the name stands. They're called TCGs or CCGs. They're the trading card games or collectible card games to actually de-jargon it for people who maybe don't understand what these terms mean. But essentially, TCGs and CCGs are the same thing. You buy a number of cards in a sealed pack, and the contents are essentially totally random. They may be from a fixed set, so you might know that you're getting 15 out of a set of 200 odd cards. But they are essentially totally random. They then add salt to the wound by putting rarities on them, so that you can have like rare cards where you will only get one of the rare card per booster pack or whatever product format they use, and commons that you will have coming out of your arse by the time you've bought.
And God forbid you also get common lands in your core or your energy cards to pack that 15 cards out just a little bit more for you boys and girls, so you're not quite getting your money's worth.
And as I say, this is going back to like the 90s, 2000s, it has sort of died a death because people got sick of it very quickly. A couple of notable games have survived. Cheeseme's mentioned Pokemon, but there's Magic the Gathering is the biggest. And Flesh and Blood is a relatively new one. It is the same thing. They are... this is an entire industry that's built on the worst fucking... it's the most customer unfriendly fucking sales format you can imagine. But the brutal truth of it is, these products are barely profitable without it. They have to convince people to overspend because they're a niche within a niche within a niche. These are products that are expensive and difficult to collect and play within the tabletop hobby, which is already fucking tiny. So their only route to success is to convince a select small group of individuals to spend the earth. And this is how they do it.
And again, I'm going to say here, I actually disagree with what Cheeseme said there, that CCGs are worse than FOMO and are worse than surprise boxes.
They are the worst. They are definitely the worst because
I would put CCG. This is just my 2 cents because again, we've already touched on this tonight. This is an opinion piece. I think CCGs and FOMO are of the same league, and the reason I say that is while CCGs are a limited run and they do rotate their sets out, etc., there is a secondary market for them which isn't overly scalped. It's not scalped to the same degree as FOMO. If you want a particular card for your CCG collection, you can go and get it on the secondary market.
No, mate, but that's...
but
do you want to buy Black Lotus?
I don't... Yeah, okay. There's a few exceptions. I'm talking about the modern stuff.
Yeah, but even then, like some commander cards, some really hot commanders go for $200 to $300 to play a deck in modern Magic the Gathering. The top decks, the deck price comes in at $2,000 to $3,000 for a 60-card deck. I mean,
again, Cheese Me's kind of hit the nail on the head though. FOMO and CCGs massively profitable for shops with very little shelf space.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely see the argument from a business perspective, and I understand. I'm not naive. I understand that CCGs use this marketing model because they have to. I mean, again, companies have tried different things. When the CCG model became very unpopular with consumers because it was just literally a fucking money pit, a lot of companies like Fantasy Flight Games moved to a different model, which they called the living card game model, where basically they took the blind buy element away. They said, give us $60 or $80, we'll give you a box of 200 to 300 cards, and you know exactly what's in it, and it'll basically give you the set. You know, or you might need to buy 2 for a full set, or 1 for a partial set.
Can I just touch on something here?
Yeah.
Because we kind of touched on it in the news, and I want to just bring this in. We've obviously talked at length on multiple different occasions about Underworlds. And Underworlds is a CCG attached to a miniatures war game.
Yeah.
And we've spoke at length of why it's bad, why it doesn't work, etc.
Yeah.
We apologise to the bloke in Athena Games in Norwich when we went up the other week. But to add insult to injury, even GW have decided, actually the CCG thing isn't really working, where there's a specific set for each specific set of models. What we're going to do now instead is give you a core box with 4 different decks in it that you can basically play with all of the factions. Therefore, there is no actual difference really in the models, only how they look. Is that a fair argument to say there?
Yeah, I guess. Like the alternate sculpt thing. I mean, to be fair though, GW have got a checkered history with this, mate. I mean, you bring up Underworlds. GW did literally do blind buy miniatures. Both Cheese Me and Tim, Sun Dude on YouTube, mentioned it.
Buys.
You know, you
and let's not add insult to injury on those blind buys, because if memory serves me correctly, there was a different set of blind buys for Japan that you could only get in Japan. So if you wanted them in the UK, in Europe, or the Americas, you were fucked. You were paying scalper prices.
I'll be honest, I think it was even more cynical than that, because I think they only changed one of the models or something. So it was because I mean, it was literally they were only ever a Japanese market thing, but they literally I think they said if you buy an outer, because again we're getting into the weeds here, but what Games Workshop said was, yeah, you could buy each of these individual boxes and they come in, say, an outer of 8 or 12. I can't remember what it was. But they said, with our packing process, we can guarantee that if you buy the outer, you will always get one of everything, but you don't know what your spares are going to be. So it was like,
So basically,
I mean,
you
it
can
was
buy a
even
full
worse.
set
It was
and
like,
pay over the odds.
well, you may as well buy an outer. It's like, oh, so I may as well spend even more money to guarantee that I'll have waste, rather than take my chances chasing the 6 models or whatever was in the set, and then I'll probably have waste.
Yeah.
And as I say, Games Workshop have dallied with this, and again, it's good business, I guess. But I mean, the irony is like, I've played Magic for years, right? And if you go to any content creator, YouTube personality, whatever for Magic, the first pretty much top of the agenda will be, if you're new, do not buy an open product. Buy most of your cards on the secondary market, even though they seem expensive, because they will be less expensive than trying to find them through sheer luck alone. So, I mean, even the community says, yeah, that blind buy, that's a thing. That's for rich people with mental health issues. Don't do that.
Yeah. And I know this is quite a negative topic.
Yeah. I'll be... Go on.
But the other thing is, there are predatory marketing tactics that don't initially appear predatory. So in a similar vein with the supply and demand, I'm not knocking on Battlefront when I say this, but to try and get hold of some of the Battlefield in a box stuff within the UK, because of their supply and demand and the fact that they have to rotate around their collections for manufacturing purposes, means that nothing's ever in stock.
Yeah.
Fantasy Flight are another prime example of, they will release a new Arkham Horror set on pre-order. So in theory, it's on pre-order. You know how many you need to produce, Fantasy Flight. Why the fuck is it taking you 6 months to deliver stuff that's on pre-order to people?
If I can leap to the defense of Fantasy Flight for just a second, the Fantasy Flight changed their marketing model for the Arkham Horror Living card game, and since they've been running the box set model, so what they used to do was they used to sell you a starter box for about 40 quid, then they'd sell you 6 booster packs with smaller numbers of cards. They weren't random, they were all fixed, there was no blind buy, but you had to get 7 or 8 products to complete the range for that particular arc or product line. They did away with it because, like David said, it gave them a manufacturing nightmare where, like, okay, so we made 200,000 copies, or we made 1 million copies of one, the blister one, and we sold them all. We made 1.2 million copies of blister 2, sold them all. We made 1.4 million of 3, and then we had to reprint it 3 times and ended up selling 3.5 million of that because of the cards that were in it. But then the next one, they didn't need to reprint, and they only sold 800,000. And it ended up being fucking chaotic for them to manage. No,
but
and it has improved. Now they basically just say, fuck it. There's 2 boxes. It's about $100 altogether. You get your story cards and your player cards. There you go. We'll see you in 4 months for some more stuff.
This is why I wanted to touch on FFG, because they realised the error of their ways with the supply and demand, and have made conscious efforts to change and fix it.
Do you know what?
They haven't gone blindly down that garden path and carried on down that garden path.
No,
I know that initially it was what, a 3 or 4 year period at least, if not longer,
for what?
of that first model.
It was longer than that, mate. Because
no, but that's what I mean.
Yeah,
it's taken them a while to learn.
They didn't drop that model.
Improving.
They didn't drop that model until
just after
it was the Antarctica set. I can't remember what it's called, but it was the one. Innsmouth was the last one that was the old format.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, mate. You are right. FFG deserve credit because the old model probably made them more money, because if there was a red hot card in just this one blister pack and everybody wanted
would buy that blister pack for shit because they wanted that one red hot card.
Yeah. But they realised it was completely customer unfriendly. It was very hard to manufacture with any kind of sort of like consistency. And good on them for just saying, whoa, guys, hang on. We have to work out how to sell this product better. And
this, and again, I don't want this stream to just be negative. I don't want it to just be attacking people for decisions that they've made, whether that be based on their size, based on how they first started to release the product, and then the development from there. Because again, companies do live, learn, change, etc. I mean, again, is there anything else that you can think of? The
only thing we haven't touched on, we touched on FOMO. And one of the things that, when we were discussing this, that fed into or came up in the FOMO conversation was the Kickstarter thing.
Yeah, I'll come to some dude on YouTube's comment in a second. So yeah, Kickstarters.
That's a fucking good shout, Tim.
We're tying together several streams that we've had previously where we've touched on topics and mentioned. We've mentioned previously Mantic. Obviously, Mantic are the people that started this conversation this evening. League of Infamy, the Kickstarter, you got such massive value that it made no sense to buy the core game on the market afterwards because you were missing out on so much. You got so much extra in the Kickstarter that, well, why would I ever go to buy it direct from them?
Yeah.
I'd rather hunt the secondary market for people that have FOMO and feel bads. You then have the flip side of Kickstarter with companies like Monolith. Monolith, fucking hats off to them. They have just completed the Isfet Kickstarter for Mythic Battles. So for those that don't know, Isfet is Egyptian-themed gods and troops and everything else in the same universe as Pantheon and Ragnarok. Pantheon, for those that don't know, is the Greek war game. Ragnarok is the one that's revolving around Norse, etc. If you had feel bads because you didn't pick up the Ragnarok Kickstarter when that completed, 2 and a bit, 3 years ago, something like that. Isfet allows you to go and buy all of your Ragnarok shit again, and it's being rerun in production for you. They have here the best of both worlds. They don't have to stock manage and end up with a situation like Mantic of being overrun with stock.
Yeah.
They just sell what they've got from the first edition, and if they've got a couple of extras, sell them onto retail and be done with it. Then they come round, release Isfet, and now you can buy all of the shit that they've done previously again through Isfet, and there's a time waiting for delivery, but it will eventually deliver.
Effectively, it's like they're just doing
it's made to order.
They're doing made to order on an interval basis, aren't they? Basically.
And again, Monolith, really good in that regard, because again, they're still releasing new content for Ragnarok, Isfet, and Pantheon. So
they do. They just sprinkle things in there to keep the product lines alive. Do you know what? There was something that Tim said, some dude on YouTube. He said, and this applies in a way to the Kickstarter thing, because I'm going to push back a bit. I mean, I am a massive hypocrite in one sense, because I have done this. you guys who've been watching for a while know that I backed Mythic Battles Pantheon. What did I back? The God Pledge. I don't even know how much it was, 300 quid, whatever. And I got the base game and every single expansion and all of the extra miniatures. I drew the lineup extra dice, I think, but I pretty much got fucking everything and the kitchen sink. Did the same with Batman from Monolith.
I did the same with Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, which is one that I didn't do it for.
I was about to say, your circumstances at the time meant you couldn't.
Exactly. I was just too skint to. My every instinct said, buy everything, Paul. Buy it all. And I don't know how to put it into concrete terms that like would stand up to any kind of theoretical analysis. But it does feel a bit predatory, the way that they create these products with so many different expansions and so many different options, and they appeal to that element of you which is like, oh, but that's got a gameplay element, that's got a new scenario, that's got
well, again, I did God pledges for Mantic's League of Infamy. I did God pledges for Origins.
Yep.
You did the God pledge for Maladum.
Yep. I got bitten by that one. And again, it was the same thing. It was like, new scenario, extra gameplay elements, more of this, more of that. And it's like, ooh. And there is something. Yeah, Tim, good for you, mate. Good for you. I don't know how I feel about that, because ultimately there's no real dishonesty. They are giving you what you've paid for. But for me, it just feels a little bit like, we know you can't resist, so we're going to do it knowing that you can't resist. Because the other thing is,
I think what it is, it's that upsell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is why it's a predatory tactic and why it's bad.
Yeah.
You've got people that are committed to a game, or like the IP, in example, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And you see the core pledge at, say it's 120. Then your God pledge is only like 80 quid more. It's 200.
Yeah.
For argument's sake.
It's only nearly double.
But
yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
You're getting over the core box. You're getting basically another core box and some extras for not more than double your money. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's that case of, well, I'd be fucking mad to buy it for 120.
Yeah. But
because again, this is the other egregious thing with Kickstarters. Fucking Kickstarter exclusives.
Yeah, that's
stuff that you can only get through Kickstarter as part of that upsell tactic.
Well, that is pure unadulterated FOMO, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is, because I mean, that is probably the ultimate FOMO, because it is literally
more into that upsell of, well, there's some extra minis in there and it's not that much extra.
Yeah.
Even though in theory it's nearly double the price.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, well, actually, I get 10, 15 models that are Kickstarter exclusive and I can't get these anywhere else. And I really like that. I mean, again, the Ezio AC mini that I got you know the Ezio on a statue?
Yeah, the one on the pillar.
Yeah. He was a tenner.
Oh my God.
I added 2 to my pledge just because I preferred the look of that Ezio on the pillar than the core box Ezio.
But that's £10 for a cheap PVC model. That's pretty nuts.
But again, I knew at that time that you weren't getting into it, etc., and I wanted to get you something.
Yeah.
For the fact that you weren't getting into it, and the fact that we both loved AC and everything else. That's why I did it.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, to be fair, I suppose from that point of view, you get. Do you know what? That's a great way of looking at it. Because that exclusive product made a great present, because it's like, that person had no way to get that if you hadn't got them for it, and it's like it's a £10 gift for a family member or close friend that is like so unachievably hard to get. It's like, that's real. It's a great way to look at it, and it's a great way to use the system. But I mean, to be fair, I think just as you were talking there, I thought this is what it is. It's this false. There's a false representation of what value is, because I think you'd agree. The brutal truth of it is that all of this stuff that we buy with these Kickstarters, most of us barely get the usage out of what would be a core pledge, do we?
Yeah.
We,
I mean, again,
we
I'll tell
barely
you the
get
worst,
through the basics.
The worst example recently, God Pledge worms.
Okay.
65 worm miniatures. They're beautiful. There's a lot of unique sculpts in there and everything else.
Yeah.
I don't actually need them to play the fucking game.
Yeah.
I could have just gone with a core box that had just the stuff that I needed.
Yeah.
And had just as good a play experience as buying the God tier with 65 different miniatures in.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to change the worm out to have the holy hand grenade versus the worm with the jetpack when I'm actually playing, because that's a shitty play experience to sit there taking miniatures out of fucking base rings, putting them back together and putting them back down.
Yeah.
I just build a 4, because I only need 4 worms per player and it plays at up to 6.
Yeah.
So I, in theory, only need 24 worms to build out the set. And yes, there's a nice element to that of, with my 65 worms, everybody could have just the unique sculpts and we could have a really good play experience.
Yes.
But I've made a rod for my own back because I've got to paint 65 worm miniatures to only use 24 of them if I'm playing 6-player.
Do you have regrets about buying that pledge? Do you wish you'd gone more basic bitch and just kept it light?
A little bit, yes, with the game.
Okay.
Genuinely.
No,
because
that's fair.
It's a board game. It's a decent play experience. My lad loves it. My missus loves it. Her kids have played it, etc. I've played it with my mum and dad. I've played it at club, etc.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've had fun at club with it.
It's been a fun experience, but also for the extra money that I spent on that game to get all those different miniatures. Okay, yes, I got a couple of extra different tiles, etc., for building the map.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually add to the play experience to have those different miniatures and have those different tiles. It plays exactly the fucking same.
Yeah. I mean,
so genuinely, what was the point?
I definitely have regrets about overbacking Kickstarters, and because Assassin's Creed. Because the other thing is, I didn't back Assassin's Creed God Pledge, and then when they came back with the new expansion, what do you know? I could get copies of Tokyo and the Crows one.
Creed versus Crows.
Crows,
Roma,
exactly.
And that was all they did, wasn't it?
Because, like you said, a bit like Monolith, doing stuff again. Triton Noir came back and let us have a second bite of the cherry. And you know what? That way, I'm buying the stuff knowing that I've actually used this stuff I already bought. And there's something healthier about doing that stepwise obtaining of the product
and
rather than just binging.
I do want to touch on something with AC here.
Yeah.
Since Paul has come back from Scotland, I have major feel bads about owning Assassin's Creed. And this is me literally spilling my heart out to the world, despite you guys roasting me about it and everything else. I have major feel bads about owning Assassin's Creed. The main reason being, I'm behind Paul on painting. So every time me and Paul are playing as AC, we're playing with his shit. The only reason we would ever use my shit is if we started doing a scenario set at club and we wanted to have 2 games running concurrently because of the legacy game.
Yeah, the way it
effect
saves your game state.
That would be the only reason to ever use my AC. And I feel bad for the amount I've invested in it.
Yeah.
Paul, and I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but you have a similar experience with Everdell.
Exactly. Yes,
because
exactly.
I've gone God on Everdell and got everything with Everdell.
Yep.
Your Everdell very rarely sees the light of day, does it?
And I'm sure that it's probably us being idiots and you guys have worked this out. But if you are friends and you have a friendship group, we may visit this topic again for a future video. But if you have a friendship group, ask yourself the question, does everybody need to buy everything? Now, board gamers are really smart at this. And lots of people who have board game groups share the burden of keeping up with new releases. Okay? And David and I have definitely become much more tuned into this, haven't we, mate? It's like everything we buy is like, well, how are you feeling? Do you want to go in on the start set? Are you going to get the rule book and that? And then I'll just pick up a warband.
Again,
like we did with Fallout.
I'm about to say, actually, multi-award winning Moonstone is an even better example.
Yep.
You bought the rule book, you bought your set.
Yep.
I bought my set, I bought the campaign expansion.
Yep, the storybook, yep.
That's us done. We've covered all bases for multi-award winning Moonstone.
And there is such a...
Fallout Wasteland Warfare is slightly different because you bought a set.
And the dice.
And the dice. Well, you have to have the dice to play the game.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I basically... You were saying Fallout Wasteland Warfare is something I definitely want to do. And I'm like, well, that's fine. But I only need to go in at a minimal level. So I'm just going to buy a faction box, buy the dice.
Whereas I went for 2 faction boxes and some dice so that I can play solo, I can introduce people to the game, I can play games, etc. There was really no obligation for you to even buy the dice, Paul, but you bought them knowing that V had got a set, etc.
Well, plus the fact I when we played the demo games, I knew that it would be handy to have more.
Yeah.
Because obviously, when you play the demo games, they give you a start set to play with, and I knew that sharing the dice amongst the players, it would just be easier to have more dice. And they're not a big ask, and they're very specific, so they're not something that you're going to be fucking improvising. Do you know what I mean? I think we've come to 10 o'clock. We hope everybody enjoyed or found something interesting in that discussion. Very much an opinion piece. This is everybody's got their own view, and quite rightly, everybody can spend their money exactly how they want to spend it. That's entirely their decision. But
just
go on.
Just before we go, while you're rounding up, may I show off what I have achieved this evening?
Yeah, you can. Just let me finish wrestling with this bastard. Oh, this is pissing me off.
I got my red down, boys and girls, and it looks fucking baller.
Wanker. Yeah, I think Darren's PVA idea would have been better.
What did you do?
Super glue is because it absorbs into the paper and glues so rapidly. The big models particularly are extremely tricky to do.
Okay.
Just hold fire. Have we got that covered? Not 100%. Okay, I see how this is. Right, let me go to your desktop cam. We want this one. We want David.
Look at
There
him,
we go.
boys and girls.
Look at Tim. I never regretted backing any crowdfunding. Also, I never lie. Yeah, okay, Tim.
So yeah, we've got all of the armor basically
They're looking
painted
pretty
on
good,
these.
buddy. I have to say, do you know what? I do have to say, Games Workshop do some very fine miniatures. Do they not?
Yes, they do. But again, I'm liking this. It's a yes, doing this process of putting a contrast over a metallic is unfortunately messy. I'm left with a lot of overexposure now. But they do look nice for
Do
it.
you like the gold? What's the gold?
The gold is bronze, highlighted through Vallejo bronze.
Okay. Yeah. I can see.
Vallejo bronze.
Yeah.
Then some Retributor armor, and then some Retributor armor and silver as a highlight.
I like the metallic gold, mate. That's very good.
To be fair, some of the metallic gold is going to be retouched upon because I've had nothing to do, like in the recesses with the corn paneling. I've had to get a little bit messy.
It doesn't really come across necessarily very well on camera. Are you happy with the metallic effect?
Oh yes, I'm fucking over the moon with this metallic armor.
I mean, it does look a bit matte.
Yes.
Do you think you might need to gloss it up, or do you think
I might actually satin it?
Okay.
Because I'm not a huge fan of ultra glossy finishes.
Yeah, sure. And to be fair, you probably don't need too much. It probably doesn't need to be that in your face.
And if everything else gets some ultra matte AK, satin's going to look amazing against it because the ultra matte AK is a fucking shine killer.
Right. I may as well show off how I've done. I've got to where I wanted to be. All of the holes are covered with paper. Having just said that the super glue was a bit of a pain in the arse because obviously it bonds the paper so fast, you don't really have time to finagle things. The one advantage is now that I've used super glue, I can stick PVA on this and sand or basing texture straight away without waiting for it to dry.
That is why I said about super glue, because if you'd have PVA'd that, you wouldn't have been able to touch that till tomorrow.
Exactly, because you know, the PVA would take so long to dry. So mixed bag. Ultimately, I've made a bit of progress. It was hard to do. So let's wrap this up. Yes, it was a salty stream. Yes, we've had a bit of a rant. The TLDR is I don't. The TLDR is just be more cautious with where you spend your cash in this hobby, is what I would say.
We've said it multiple times. Consider purchases.
Everything.
Don't get suckered into blind buys, FOMO, and everything else. And I know that's easy to say, particularly if you're invested in a game or invested in a system. But just take a step back and consider it.
Yeah. And again, not wanting to shit on Mantic, I don't understand why you would want to buy a £50 box of random stuff. For me, that's too much money that I can. When you get down to nominal amounts like a £5, say, there really is little you can do in the hobby with that. Christ, you'll struggle to buy 2 paints with that. There are nominal amounts where if you're like, here's a £5, what have you got for me? It's understandable. £50 is a lot of money. You can do a lot with 50 quid. You can buy a faction box for 100 different skirmish level miniature games. Ewok says, I probably shouldn't have spaffed 400 quid on metal spaceships. Probably not, Ewok. But do you know what? I said it earlier. Hypocrite. We've done it. We've all done it. You know what I mean? Tim, we don't get political on this stream. Leave the Orange Oracle alone. Right, okay. So let's wind it up. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to everybody who was in the chat tonight. As usual, they're the co-stars. They're the people who make the show as much as we do. And I hope you enjoyed. Again, it's one of those things. It's like, it always disappoints me that more streamers don't put their live chat on the screen. I know it's in the sidebar, but I always think that the live chat is so much a part of live streaming that really these guys deserve more of a front and center position.
It allows people to interact with one another and have opinion pieces. We've had streams before where people have been having full-blown conversations.
Yeah. And it makes it easier to absorb the chat and the stream. I get it with the sidebar thing, but anyway, we're diverting. Let's say goodnight. If you can only find time to do one thing, click the like button, please, guys, on the stream. That helps to push us a little bit in the YouTube algorithm, which is always greatly appreciated. If you can do any of the other YouTube stuff, share, comment, subscribe, then do whatever gives you value and whatever works for you within the confines of YouTube. We won't ask you to do anything you don't want. And with that said, I think we're ready to play out with another masterpiece from the Mr. Ewok, Lay Kebab. See you later.
It's another Thursday night. I see Crispin's wearing tights. Sparrow's getting in the bath. Young David's full of wrath. Paula's tightening his straps. Where on his apron you saps. Technical difficulties. They're really such a crime. Technical difficulties. They happen all the time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop 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 time. Cheese Meat is on day release. Dan still tries not to crease. And Ewoks keeping nice and warm. In bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile, the handyman is opening up a can. Technical difficulties, they're really such a crime. Technical difficulties, they happen all the time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop 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 time. Cheese Meat is on day release. Damn Chef tries not to crease. The Ewoks keeping nice and warm. In bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile, the handyman is opening another can. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. 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 rise, not decrease. And Ewoks keeping nice and warm in bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile, the handyman is opening another can.